which is the round table, considerations for digital transformation, digital paradigms and partnerships, the human factor, and leading the discussion will be the Honorable Acting Chief Justice of Belize, Ms. Michelle Arana. There will be the discussants who will be Indira, Demeritte-Francis, and Bevil Wooding. The program had indicated that Jennifer Astafan would join, but Jennifer cannot make it. If I may just briefly introduce Justice Arana. She has the distinction of being the first female Supreme Court judge for the country of Belize. Justice Arana has been through, and it's a stirring example, been through, as it were, this. She has started at the beginning of the legal, the profession, the legal public service, magistrate, registrar general. She did a stint in private practice, and she has now moved on to being the acting Chief Justice. I think she became a High Court judge, was it in 2006, I believe. She holds a master's degree. She has lectured at the University of Belize. I think she is so very much the essence of what one would look for in terms of depth of knowledge, of experience, etc. The other persons, the Honorable Indira Demeritte-Francis is the President of the Industrial Tribunal of the Bahamas. Forgive me for not going into her CV, and also forgive me for not going into Bevil's CV. I think they are sufficiently known for me to be forgiven that, because I want to save time and ask Michelle if she would begin the presentation at this juncture. Michelle?
Thank you very much for that great introduction, Justice Barrow. Pleasant good morning to all. Calling established, I wish to thank APEX and other organizers of this virtual event for inviting me to participate in this important, which analyzes, assesses, and celebrates the ongoing digital transformation of courts. Information and communication technologies, or ICT, continue to evolve at such a fast pace that presents a challenge for regulators and policymakers to keep, particularly in developing regions like the Caribbean. The lag between technological innovation and balancing judicial policy can lead to potential dangers ranging from service delivery inequities and abuses in administration of justice to exclusion of stakeholders and even compromised national security. This keynote address explores the factors driving successful digital transformation reports. It provides a lens with judicial officers to interpret the current digital transformation pressures and the evolving technological scene. In this address, I hope to, one, highlight the linkage between digital transformation and effective justice administration. Two, identify key priorities and considerations for supporting the digital transformation in courts. Three, recommend specific action that can be taken by judiciaries to foster digital transformation. A digital transformation strategy is an important component in any court's commitment to improving access to justice. It provides a clear roadmap to improving services and accessibility for citizens and promoting innovation and technology to meet the needs of the judiciary. However, developing a digital transformation strategy can be a major undertaking. To be effective and representative, the process must necessarily involve the many stakeholders served by the system, the public, the legal profession, judges, police, and court services staff. But the investment is worth it. Harnessing the power of technology allows us to meet institutional goals as well as public expectations for service excellence. It is now widely understood and accepted that increased use of technology inside and outside of the courtroom enhance our ability to fulfill our obligation to be neutral and impartial arbiters of disputes and to support and enhance respect for the rule of law. In Belize, we are committed to using digital solutions in a responsible manner to improve access to justice and to support the effective administration of justice for our citizens. We are engaged with APEX, the Agency for Justice Solutions, in a process towards a digitally enabled, enhanced, and support available to all citizens. The existing legal system can be costly, complex, and unresponsive to diverse justice system users and participants. Procedural delays, legal costs, and service inefficiencies are all well-recognized problems. But these are also opportunities for the court system to leverage technology to be more efficient, more productive, and more responsive. As well, there is opportunity to support emerging technological innovation that is effective, secure, and culturally appropriate. As our justice system embraces a shift to digitized justice services, it does so on the foundation for local court technology innovations, the expert modern technology of our regional justice partners, and the support and learned experiences of colleagues in other jurisdictions, most notably the Caribbean Court of Justice. This combination of technical and judicial partnerships have allowed us to rapidly accelerate the development of local capacity at the Belize judiciary. It is also facilitating the faster delivery of user-centered digital services that are tailored to our environment, easy to use, and affordably priced. These are 4 elements of digital transformation that we will focus on today. 1, prioritizing local needs. 2, defining appropriate policies. And 3, leveraging regional relationships. 4, developing local capacity. 1, prioritizing local needs. The realities of resource constraints, whether human resource or financial, persistent backlogs of cases, and competing national priorities all bolster the need for rapid innovation. Additionally, the growing expectations, particularly amongst younger generations, for digital technology options in their personal and work lives, as well as when accessing government and justice services, requires the adoption of technology-enabled solutions to meet those needs. The justice system must consider significant factors in adopting digital technologies. These include shifting public expectations. Citizens want services and accessibility options anytime from any device. Confidence in public institutions shifts with the perception of how available services compare relative to the rest of modern life. Broadly available technology makes self-serve digital services more convenient, efficient, easier, and accessible to the general public than traditional in-person services. Emerging digital economy. There is an urgency to address the barriers and challenges to access justice, leveraging a digital economy to be more affordable and cost-effective. Judiciary and government priorities. The commitment of the Ministry of the Attorney General and the courts to enhance access to justice and excellence in the delivery of justice are key components to digital transformation of courts. In Belize, we are fortunate to have both at this juncture. This means ensuring that the public has ease of access to affordable, timely services. The justice sector, including the judiciary and the private bar, must be demonstrably committed to promoting innovation and technology to support these tenets. This means embracing digital solutions to transform the delivery of services, to reduce court wait times, to increase access to justice, and to create an efficient and sustainable justice system. 2, defining appropriate policies. All levels of the judiciary play a key role in enabling timely access to justice by reducing trial timelines through effective use of technology. This also means considering barriers and enablers from a policy, legislation, and rules perspective. The justice system has an obligation to deliver timely criminal and civil trials, and also faces mounting public and political pressures to reduce delay and increase efficient delivery of judgments in a timely manner. In addition, courts in Belize must work with diverse local groups and communities to create policies that support culturally appropriate interactions with appropriate values and principles, and a justice system that is fully accessible to local communities, including those in remote areas. 3, leveraging regional relationships. As we in this Caribbean region take these important steps to modernize our courts through the use of technology, we must recognize the importance of legal and judicial cooperation for the strengthening of bilateral relationships. We must understand the benefits of appropriate strategic regional relationships to enhancing legal systems and legal institutions, and to promoting greater efficiency, cost savings, and public accountability. Here in Belize, we acknowledge and are grateful for the salutary role of the Caribbean Court of Justice in creating a dedicated agency to facilitate technical and development cooperation programs for the strengthening, improvement, and modernization of our court administration systems, including judicial as well as non-judicial support functions. We also acknowledge the value of accessing regional expertise to support the adoption and optimization of information and communications technologies. 4, developing local capacity. Digital transformation programs must have a strong focus on developing the capacity of the judiciary and the legal empowerment of our local people. This transformation includes a holistic approach to governance and the administration of justice at the local level, and seeding new ideas and capacities amongst a new generation of judicial and legal actors. Apex is an excellent example of this, in that it serves the courts, litigants, attorneys, governments, justice partners, and the general public. Apex's initiatives are premised on the reality that the Caribbean has the creativity, intellectual capacity, and competencies necessary to support, develop, and sustain the region's justice sector. Its model demonstrates that successful digital transformation programs must be underpinned by inclusive governance, strategic partnerships, and a clear focus on supporting indigenous human capacity development. So what are the key takeaways that I would wish to leave for you to ruminate upon? One, our words must match our actions. First, a word of caution that rising cynicism among members of the general public whom we serve concerning our institutions, particularly our courts, can lead to unprecedented social turbulence if no concrete steps are taken to address the problems which repeatedly plague our society and undermine faith in our systems of governance, especially our judicial system. Two, we must seek to dismantle the notion that foreign is by default better. We must recognize and celebrate the benefit of culturally sensitive, like-minded, technically competent local and regional solutions and providers. Thirdly, we must appreciate that pandemic-induced digital transformation is not a passing fad. It is a wake-up call for judiciaries across the region. Fourthly, in order to implement the digitization of one's court system, a structured approach is required involving the following steps. A, set your vision. B, define your challenges, solutions, and expected outcomes. C, involve leadership, engage your staff, and inform your stakeholders. D, ensure effective project management. E, remove the blinkers by adopting a data-driven approach and tracking digital information transformation initiatives and investments. And finally, create value in us, where deliberate such strategies are visualized and actualized to promote regional solutions and sustainable local capacity. I thank you.
Thank you, CJ. The discussants, please take it from there.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I will allow my colleague Indira to go first, but I do believe this has been a most excellent discourse on the subject and a very natural evolution of the conversation from throughout the day. So I'm looking forward to hearing from another one who is battling in the trenches of digital transformation in the region, Demeritte-Francis of the Bahamas Industrial Tribunal.
So what happened just now?
Over to you, Indira.
Okay, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Excellent. Good morning. I want to say that I'm very happy to be here this morning in such esteemed company, and happy that you called on the Bahamas Industrial Tribunal to speak about its personal experience with reference to its advanced technology and smart courts. I think one of the things I need to say is what are the components of our smart court, or why we call it a smart court. And firstly, this journey started, I think, in August of 2019, where we first put in our case management system attaché, along with our e-filing. And I mention that only because it was pre-COVID and also advantageous for the Bahamas simply because we were hit by Hurricane Dorian. And so we were poised for the challenges that we were faced at that time and ready to test the solutions that we had implemented in the Bahamas. And I'm happy to say that with the help of the Caribbean Court of Justice, we have done extremely well at charting those waters, and we came out successful, and we were able to be up and running as a court, I guess, without even going down. So I want to really commend the Caribbean Court of Justice on their solution and helping us to implement these various solutions in the Bahamas. So we have also, as I said, the e-filing folio solution. We have the Captura, which is the transcription module, which we're still tweaking. We have the Sightlines, which deals with our statistics, which is also extremely useful for gauging our performance among the judges and helping me to make leadership decisions. We have, as a result of COVID, put together our smart court, which includes, like most courts throughout the region and elsewhere, our video conferencing segment. We have what we also call the DIVA program, which is a dedicated internet virtual assistance program, where we call it our behind the scenes team support, which is extremely useful. That mans each of our 4 digital courts from day to day to get us through our cases. We also have our mobile app, which the judges use to communicate with the court to know what's going on in all their individual courts. And we have recently launched what we call our SPANS and refers solutions. The SPANS solution is our notification, which is the SMN text and email notification to counsel and attorneys, the judges, to tell them where to be, what to do, and where to go. We also have our refers, which is an external solution, which we use to have matters e-filed from a government ministry, Labor Department, specifically for the purposes of the Industrial Tribunal. And that is where we get our jurisdiction in order to start matters or commence matters within the tribunal. So they are actually now tied in or integrated to our case management solution, so that they can no longer send them to us by post, but they are sent directly to the court and managed through our case management solution. And finally, we have our website. And so all 10 of these items is why we say we have a smart court, because all of our processes are now digitized, and we are now jumping between in-house court. You can come to the courtroom to have the case, or you can elect to do it online in this COVID environment. It's been challenging, but to say, I've heard some very interesting comments today, which makes me feel very happy about what we've done here in the Bahamas and the work that is continuous. And I think one of the comments I want to make, certainly about Chief Justice's of Belize, where she says she's in the stage of implementing. And we are just a little beyond that stage. We've implemented, we've tested, and we've moved on, and we've added more solutions. And the problem that I'm facing now is what I heard the Honorable President of the CCJ say, which is culture eats strategy. Yes, you can have a strategy. However, you have to be able to maintain the innovations in the culture. And it's that maintenance that I'm in at the moment. And I'm finding that there's several levels of challenges that we have to address, which I'm not going to go into today because I haven't been asked to speak, but certainly I just want to say that this is the phase that the Bahamas is in at the moment. And it's interesting. And we have the attorneys that we have to continually encourage and ask them to, we have to drive certain things in order for the culture to be maintained. And this, of course, as Sir Dennis has pointed out, is leadership, and it's leadership at every level. So it's leadership by the judges. It's also creating positions within the court for designated management of certain areas of the system to ensure that things are happening the way they should, so that you get the outcome that you intended in the beginning. Because I find that even though I may have had this vision, to get the outcome, you have to have that middle dealt with, and the middle are all the other components that are necessary. And that includes the designation of particular staff members, dealing with people who may transfer. You've trained this one and this one no longer exists. And so you have to retrain, and you have to make sure that people understand what the actual outcome is and not allow them to change your outcome. And then again, this outcome must be managed through your rules and managed through practice directions as these problems arise on a day-to-day basis. We also know that the leadership must come from the judges themselves in their own courtrooms. And we have judges who may be reluctant they start off well, they're all well and happy about the innovation and the technology, and then council presents before them and they fall off the wagon for a short minute and go back to the manual process. And then you have to somehow match that manual process with the electronic process. And there's small difficulties that you face in going back, because with the case management solution, you don't have the ability to backdate documents. So we have to ensure that hard copies meet electronic copies, they're all the same, and that the court is managed in a particular way in this new electronic environment. That would be my first comment, if not too long.
No, not too long at all. As a matter of fact, I just want to remind the participants of the title of this roundtable, Considerations for Digital Transformation, the human factor, and what you've both raised, I think, very well as some of the real world issues that go beyond identifying the correct software or identifying the correct hardware, and actually starting to address the real issue of change management, the real issue of cultural adaptation, and the issue of ensuring that all stakeholders are not just aware of what is intended as an appropriate outcome, but that they're also embracing of that outcome, and that takes time and that takes effort. Michelle, if you would, can you continue, just share a bit more about how, for example, the process has been in terms of getting the rest of the judiciary at the Supreme Court on board in terms of the approaches that have been taken to move toward full digitization and the adoption of some of the tools that you have described in your presentation?
Okay. Right. Yes, so thank you, Bevil. The concept for our digitization, for me, started last year in the middle of the pandemic. I had just been appointed as the acting Chief Justice, and I received a letter from the president of the CCJ informing me about Apex and the many possibilities that could be brought to bear on our judicial system, in improving efficiency. So that was last year. And then in January, I believe, of this year, our AG informed me that she had in fact negotiated an agreement whereby we would be benefiting from Apex solutions. So I was very relieved to hear that. And then after meeting with you, Bevil, you shared with me a plan to have us up and running in a few weeks' time. And I, with some degree of skepticism, I embraced the plan. But I am relieved and happy to see that we were able to do this in very short order. Now, in terms of getting the rest of the judiciary on board, I have to say that my colleagues have fully embraced the new system. We have training, we have had training for judges, for support staff, marshals, registrars, case management personnel. We have all been involved in training at every level to make sure that this system gets up and running. Of course, we have been facing different challenges, but I can say that we have had the benefit not only of our own IT personnel, but of IT personnel from Apex, who have been very willing and helpful to help us iron out the kinks. In terms of, and it's an ongoing process. In terms of the bar, I also understand that from my registrars that there are a few challenges, like in every new system, there is some degree of resistance to change. But by and large, the system has been embraced by the bar, and we are working with them to make sure that this is a system that will continue for as long as possible so that we can see the full benefit of technology. So that is how I would answer your question.
Right. No, thank you, and appreciate the sincerity of the response, particularly as it relates to the skepticism. I know for many, the notion of being able to implement something like electronic filing or electronic case management in weeks and months as opposed to years seems a bit fictional. But in both cases, in Belize and in the Bahamas at the Industrial Tribunal, you've both been able to accomplish that because of what Sir Dennis had indicated in his presentation was the most important element, and that is how the technology project or process was led or governed. And I know from an APEX standpoint, we were only able to support you because of the support that you provided us in ensuring that the entire court ecosystem was effectively engaged. And I think that that's a very important note for those who are looking to find relevant Caribbean models for accelerated digital transformation. I think the examples that you both, the lived examples that you both provide stand as testament to what is possible. I see some questions in the chat that I want to just bring to the discussion now, because there's also the issue of access. Whenever we talk about digital transformation and whenever we speak about technology, of course, there are always those who know it natively and understand it intuitively, but then there are those who don't. And the question has to do with what provisions are made to ensure that there is no alienating or even discrimination of those who may not have the technical tools or savvy to go digital. So one question for you, Indira, is in the Bahamas, do you operate a kiosk? Are there persons specifically designated to assist members of the public who would not have access to the internet or similar resources? How do you deal with this?
Okay, well, we do not have a kiosk. It is our intention to put a kiosk in as soon as we're financially able to do so, but we certainly do assist the public, and we have a help desk. And we work very closely with the practitioners who practice here at the tribunal. And we host many seminars for users of our case management solution and e-filing. And we kind of know through the time that they practice the level of the practitioner's ability to use the technology. And so throughout the process itself, meaning the court hearing, we facilitate them accordingly, and there are exceptions. So for instance, I had a what I call a legal representative that appeared before me. He just indicated flat out that he was not able to use the e-filing module, and he had his son in the background trying to help him cope with the cases that he had before me. And so in that particular case, I simply had to revert in some instances to allowing him to file some matters manually, and then have my court staff follow through, but to e-file them so they would be accessible to all other persons on the other side and myself electronically. So again, this is where the question, well, certainly I have to address my mind to drafting the practice directions or changing the rules to accommodate these instances and figure out, how I want to move forward without allowing these types of problems to take me backwards. Meaning, if there are more people that are not able to practice through the electronic platforms, I see the possibility of reverting to the manual systems. And so that's where this tough leadership comes in. And you have to continually educate and continually help. And of course, I see that this is a real job for the judges, because you have to make this decision while you are in court hearing the matter as to how you're going to continue with your matter and how much you're going to allow them to revert to the manual way of doing things, as opposed to the so-called elaborate new electronic setup that I have. But to ensure that we, meet our mandate, which is to ensure a fair hearing within a reasonable time, you certainly will have to make some adjustments to your electronic platform when you are faced with these decisions in court.